In this section, we'll talk about restaurant model, and here's actually a simple flow of how does our system work. First of all, a user may have multiple restaurants, and inside this restaurant, it may have multiple categories, maybe like dishes like fish, chicken, meal, and inside each category, it has food or the item of menu. So, for example, we are in X restaurant, and they have a meat category, right? And under this meat categories, they may have buffaloes or may have barbecue and so on. Here's an example, right? And if we notice here, the user has many restaurants, right? The relationship, and each restaurant also has multiple or has many categories, and each category has many items. And also we can generate a relationship between restaurants and item using morph or polymorphic relationship in Laravel, and also maybe user and items, but I don't think so. Now let's focus on restaurant. And here's our schema for restaurant model. As we know here, each user has multiple, here let me fix it quickly, has a many relationships with restaurants, and here's the simple schema of restaurants table: ID, user ID name, and slug, which will be auto generated. Now let's generate our files of restaurant model, and I will say PHP artisan make model restaurant hyphen all, which will be generate everything we will need. So when I hit enter, you will see model has been generated, factory has been generated, migrations, seeders, requests for creating, requests for updating, and controller itself, and policies also. Now if we open our editor here, I will open the model here, and we have restaurant, factories, and we have policies, and inside the controller itself, it has also here for controller, restaurant controller here, it has all defined resource methods, index, create, store, and also even they used the things or requests as a parameter. Everything is almost ready. We just need to implement. So in this video, I will work on model and migrations. So I will open restaurant model here. I will say guarded will be empty array, because I will fill all of fields in database and restaurants table. And I will open the migration also that's generated inside the database here, migrations, and we have restaurants has been generated successfully here. And I will say table string name, right? And table foreign ID, user ID, and it must be constrained. It will be related to the user ID automatically, and that is also. And then I will say table string slug, and it must be unique, right? Back to model, and I will create the relationship here. I will say function user here, and return this belongs to user model class here, and also inside user I will create the relationship here, function restaurants, and I will say return this has many restaurants here class, and I will add the back or return type here using has many class, right? It's imported here. I say this is a relationship, and the same thing here for model restaurant also. I will say it must return belongs to relationship here. Then I will say PHP artisan migrate. Now our restaurants table is ready. Open our database, and here our restaurants table, name, user ID, slug, and I think we may add soft delete. Say here use soft deletes, and I will say rollback because I am in the local environment. I will open here it again. I will say table soft deletes, right? And now rerun migrate artisan PHP artisan migrate generated back to our database and see. Now we have all things: name, user ID, slug, deleted data, and so on, right? Now let's implement a factory. Here I will say restaurant factory inside database factories here, and I will say here name fake sentence here of maybe 3 or 4 words, 3 words, and I will say also user ID and generate user factory create, right, to be auto-generated while using factory, and the slug will be auto-generated. So if we run it here, I will say PHP artisan tinker. I want to generate some restaurant factory. Let's say create here. I must run PHP or composer dump autoload. You can just write composer du, and I will try to do it again. Now we will receive an error: slug doesn't have a default values or not nullable. So inside the restaurant model, inside boot here, while creating function boot or booted, it must be static, right? And I want to say once a model has been booted, I will say static or parent booted here, and I want to say static while creating the application or restaurant function closure here. I want to say while creating it, automatically fill the slug, and it takes a parameter of model or restaurant, actually restaurant here. And if we die and dump restaurant here to array, for example, just to show you while creating it here. Now I want to create. You can see while creating we have name and user ID, and I want to generate also the restaurant slug equal to str here slug, right? And slug the restaurant name. Let's call it here use str under illuminate support here, and let's rerun it again. This tinker factory create, and now we have our restaurant has been created successfully in our database. As we can see, name, user ID, number 9, and also we have the slug here slugged by dash, right? Open our users. Also a user has been created automatically while creating it from the factory of restaurant model. This quickly an introduction or warming up for restaurant model. See you next video.